Welcome to Middle Church. I'm the Reverend Dr. Jackie Lewis, and I'm the senior minister here. I've been serving here for 21 years. That's called a long pastorate. But we are thrilled to be back in our building. I think you may know that we had a fire about 5 years ago and just got back into the building at Easter time. And to be able to welcome you to this place for this moment gives me great joy. So thank you so much. I hope you feel at home. There is restroom here, there's a restroom there, there's food across the way, just to orient you to how to use this space. It's my deep honor to be able to host this celebration of our Comptroller. So, yeah? That's a good idea, right? Tom DiNapoli is the 54th Comptroller of the state of New York. He's proudly served as state Comptroller since 2007. That's also a long time. And you may or may not know this, but in 1972, he won his first election, not as Comptroller, but served as trustee on the Mineola Board of Education, becoming the first, I know, right? Becoming the first 18-year-old in New York State to hold public office. He was later elected to the New York State Assembly and is known for his integrity, for his independence, and his even-keeled leadership. Am I even-keeled? I don't know, but known for his even-keeled leadership. He has an unwavering commitment to protect our money and to keep government accountable and to build toward a better future for New Yorkers. So on that note, I would give you Tom.
Well, good evening, everyone. And let's give it up again for Reverend Dr. Jackie Lewis, Senior Minister of Middle Church. Appreciate that introduction. Well, I do have one quibble.
Yes.
I love when people remind everyone of my little footnote of history of being elected at age 18. Yeah. But you're not supposed to say what year it was. Because then you lose the audience. They all start calculating in their head. And hopefully they say, looks pretty darn good if he was 18 in 1972. But give it up again for Reverend Dr. Jackie Lewis and the team here at Middle Church. They've really been so welcoming and so kind. And it's a long, illustrious history, but a challenging history in recent years. And to see that the church has rebuilt physically, but never had to rebuild spiritually because the community was always with you and the congregation was always with you, right? So that's a credit to your great leadership. And certainly this distinguished minister and this congregation has a long track record of being an inclusive, welcoming space for all. And certainly we feel very honored to be part of that story now, to be included and welcomed here at Middle Church. So happy Pride Month, everyone. It's really, yes. It's a privilege to be back for our 6th annual Pride event, commemorating June as Pride Month, a celebration of the LGBTQ plus community. For the past 6 years, our Pride event, and there are many Pride events, as you know, that go on across the city and across the state, but for us it's been an opportunity to celebrate the queer and gay community and also honor trailblazers and leaders who have been paving the way for equity and justice. Here in New York, I'm very proud to say, and I think you would all agree, our city and our state is regarded as a safe haven for queer and trans New Yorkers. Isn't that something worth celebrating? You all know we have a great history with landmark legislation leading the way across the country over the years. So many, I won't mention them all, but obviously marriage equality, gender identity. Yes, that deserves a round of applause. Gender identity, non-discrimination, ban on conversion therapy, protections on gender-affirming care. Most recently, the voters passed the Equal Rights Amendment to the state constitution. That was another great milestone. So we've had so much to celebrate. But I think it would be fair to say that this year, I think we all feel a little different, a little more challenged with what's going on around us. I think we're all very anxious. I think that's probably an understatement. Anxious and fearful about the policies that are coming from Washington that could very well impact us, our friends, our families in very, very negative ways, especially for the trans community who have been under such direct attack by this administration. It really is a moment of great concern and a moment where we all have to stick together. From scrubbing the Q and T off the Stonewall National Monument to threatening Medicaid, big issue in Washington right now, and access to gender-affirming care, to deporting LGBTQ asylum seekers, to banning trans people from serving in the military, and even removing Harvey Milk's name from the Navy ship that was dedicated in his honor. Harvey Milk was a Long Islander, by the way, originally. I have to point that out as a Long Islander. And of course, today, what was the news? The Supreme Court upheld a Tennessee ban on gender-affirming care for trans youth. There are so many threats that are out there. They are real, they are urgent. But I hope you agree with me, we will not let hate win out. We will not, right? So today and every day, we need to stand together proudly stating that trans rights are human rights, right? You agree? Round of applause for that. So this month is a reminder of our strength and the power we hold in our unity. The gay community has long stood strong in the face of obstacles, and this moment is no different. Because regardless of the challenges before us and the hateful actions of this administration at the national level, we will not be silenced in the fight for equality, and we will certainly not let our trans friends and neighbors and family members be erased. We have a duty, a shared duty, to our fellow neighbors here in New York and across the nation. And that means staying united in protecting gender-affirming care, speaking out against anti-trans policies, defending asylum seekers of all identities, supporting our gay and trans youth. Certainly as Comptroller, I will stand in any way that I can with all of you in this fight, because everyone deserves to live their lives as their true, authentic selves, without fear, without judgment, without punitive or discriminatory laws targeting them or attacking them. So tonight, we reaffirm our commitment to the work ahead, and we take this opportunity to recognize individuals who are real leaders in uplifting the LGBTQ plus community, uplifting all New Yorkers with the great work that they do, and certainly the ways in which they have always stood for justice. And we really have a very impressive of honorees this evening. So I'm going to kick it off. First, I'm going to call back to the microphone our host, Reverend Dr. Jackie Lewis, Senior Minister here at Middle Church. Reverend Jackie, please come forward. So this is kind of this is like, well, it's actually, I was going to say dual honor. There's a triple, because I'm going to do the dual, and then you're going to stay up here because got a little third surprise for you. Okay. But just as a reminder, Middle Church is a multicultural, multi-ethnic, intergenerational congregation advancing LGBTQ plus equality, racial and ethnic justice. This congregation, as you well know, is led by Reverend Dr. Jackie Lewis, Senior Minister, who is a longtime advocate for racial equality, gun control, economic justice, equal rights for all sexual orientations and genders, and marriage equality. As one of the oldest Protestant congregations, or the oldest, we said, right? The oldest Protestant congregation in North America. Yeah, that deserves a round of applause.
Right.
Middle Church's historic house of worship, as many of you know, all of you probably know, was engulfed by a fire in 2020 that destroyed much of the church. The congregation celebrated the successful completion of the first phase of reconstruction this past April with an Easter Sunday service in the new sanctuary, which I got a wonderful first-hand tour of, and it's beautiful. This event tonight that we're hosting here is actually one of the first to be hosted in this space, so we feel very privileged for that. And I just have to say, I know Reverend Jackie probably more by reputation, because we're just getting to know each other personally this evening. But this is someone that is just so highly regarded, so beloved. Erin Stevens from my staff has a very special relationship, as her family does with you, a great history. And, oh, there you are, Erin. I pointed to you over there. And even in the few moments we talked, just, the strength of your personality, the beauty of your spirituality, that sense of we're all in it together that you evoke, really is very, very special. It's no surprise that you've been the spiritual leader here for over 20 years. I'm trying to catch up to your record, my controller record. And thank you for welcoming me tonight and to come back again for a service, which I hope to be able to do at some point. But this is just a small way with this proclamation to honor you and to honor your congregation and just thank you for standing tall each and every day.
So nice. Thank you so much. I love you back.
So let's, right here. Annie's going to get a quick one here. And,
I have a present
the mic
for you,
is
too.
Oh, okay. Here, I'll take that.
I'll give you the present and the mic. This is a book I wrote called Fierce Love. Some folks have this book, but it's a book about how we can, all of us, no matter our faith, no matter our gender or sexual orientation, no matter our race or ethnicity, we are human together and we're better together. So I wanted you to have that as a gift back.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Tom. Thank you, everyone, for this honor. I just have a few brief remarks to make about why I do what I do. I'm African American. Can you see? Woman, cisgendered, of a certain age, 66 years old. I've grown up in this nation, raised by two African American parents from Mississippi. Baptist and Presbyterian were their backgrounds. They had lots of things they could have taught us kids, but they taught us that faith meant love. Love God with everything you have and love your neighbor as yourself. They were not like quoting Shakespeare, they were quoting Jesus. When asked what does it mean to be faithful, love God with your whole self and love your neighbor as yourself. In other words, love, period. And I say here, everything else is commentary. Everything else is midrash. Everything else is opinion. Jesus, Rabbi Jesus, says, love God, love neighbor, love self. And he isn't a Christian, newsflash, he's a Jew. And he's quoting his scripture when he says, love God with everything and love your neighbor as yourself. Watch how the church has been anti-Semitic in the name of the Jew. Watch how the church has changed the story or the calling to love into an opportunity to beat people up for who they love, for how they look. Watch how the church, I'm criticizing my people, has stolen this nation from the people who lived here and built this land on the backs of people who look like me, all in the name of church. Amen. What I'm wanting to say to you in this Pride Month, as tomorrow is Juneteenth, where we think about the final liberation of those enslaved Africans, well, the kind of liberation of those enslaved Africans, right? Let's take another 100 years to get it together, and maybe we're still not free. I'm wanting to tell you from a place of spirit, from a place of faith, that exactly as you are, God made you. And that exactly as you are cherished and fabulous and amazing. And that exactly as we all are, our job as humans on the planet is to try to build a world that looks like love on earth. So I stand with my trans siblings who are having a special suffering day today when the Supreme Court says that the 14th Amendment doesn't guarantee them the right for this gender-affirming care. Like, shame on them, shame on them. I'm always going to be your advocate. I'm always going to be your ally. Middle Church is always going to love all the people no matter what. And I just want to invite you into that space. Let's together make the nation look like love lives here. Thank you so much.
Wait, don't go yet. Don't go yet, because now I don't want our other honorees to think this is going to apply to you as well. But this is something a little extra special.
Is Titus Burgess here or what?
So the fun thing we do in the controller's office is find people's lost money.
Okay.
Unclaimed funds.
Yeah.
Well, you've been so darn busy leading this congregation, you lost track of some of your accounts. So
Oh, a girl can do something with that.
How about $3,300 of unclaimed funds?
Thank you, Tom. Is the real check in the mail, or is this it?
Go to the ATM, you'll get it in. We'll get you the paperwork, right, to make sure that you get it. There you go.
I'm going on sabbatical this summer. I can do something with this. How nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Give it up for Reverend Jackie Lewis. Thank you so much.
This one like belongs to my church. I am losing my voice to my allergies, so Tom knows I'm slipping away. But it's not against my fellow honorees.
And with a round of applause, you're slipping away. Thank you. Thank you again for hosting us and for that strong message. She's terrific, isn't she? All of our honorees are terrific. Now it's a real privilege to call forward someone I know for a long time, an incredible leader in our state. I'm very, very pleased that we can honor this evening Melinda Person, president of NYSUT, New York State United Teachers. For the few of you who may not be familiar with Melinda, let me tell you a little bit about her. Melinda Person is a graduate of Cornell University and the Cornell Union Leadership Institute with dual degrees in policy analysis and management. She began her career student teaching in a 6th grade Boston public school classroom and worked for the New York State Assembly, where we first met. I think a lot of good things come out of the New York State Assembly, but that's personal opinion. And also worked at the New York State Division of Budget, negotiating and advising on education and budget policy matters. She currently serves as president of New York State United Teachers, NYSUT, representing 700,000 workers, professionals, teachers, healthcare workers, nurses, bus drivers, custodians, lifeguards, paraprofessionals, teacher aides, teacher assistants, 700,000 in schools, colleges, and healthcare facilities. And she's a very strong advocate for our NYSUT retirees as well. Very, very important, right? Give it up for the retirees. Melinda has spent more than 2 decades advancing educational opportunity and has been an impactful advocate for LGBTQ plus rights, speaking out against book banning and censorship, and for ending LGBTQ plus discrimination in the workplace. You know, I just want to say on a personal level, we've shared a great partnership, certainly especially when she ascended to the position of being the president of NYSUT. And I know we have some of our NYSUT friends here. NYSUT is a big union, a very important union. Not always an easy union to get everybody on the same page. But she's been a master at building coalitions within the ranks of NYSUT and UFT as well. Shout out to UFT, which is part of NYSUT, and really has elevated the voice in such an effective way. And no surprise this year with all the debates going on about budget issues and concern about the economy, what's going to happen coming out of Washington, we saw an historic commitment to school funding in the state of New York, and Melinda Person and the team at NYSUT are a big, big reason for that. For that alone, the impact it's having on families all across our state, and so many other policy issues. I won't get into all the detail, but Melinda has really made NYSUT be a force for good in so many impactful ways, not just for the members who are part of NYSUT, but really for the larger community of the family of New York State. So Melinda, it really is a privilege to honor you this evening. We will present this plaque to you to make it official. All right. And give it up for Melinda Person.
Thank you, Tom, not only for this incredible recognition, but for what you do every day for NYSUT members and the labor movement as a whole. It's Pride Month, and it is great to be here to celebrate and to be honored with all of these other distinguished folks here in the room. And I am honored as a NYSUT member, who is a member of the LGBTQ community, to speak on behalf of the many of us that serve in silence within our workplaces. Now, Pride Month is a celebration, but it's also a time for us to speak honestly about what's going on in the world. And from where I stand as a union leader, I see incredible challenges that we face. It's hard to be queer or trans in this country right now. And it's especially hard to be trans. I see our members fighting every day to make sure that our schools are safe and welcoming places for our students. Trans youth are incredibly vulnerable, but our members do everything that they can to make sure that they feel safe and at home in our schools. I see how our queer and trans educators have to navigate workplaces where being themselves puts them at risk. I see how the culture wars have turned our school board meetings and our classroom and our curriculum into battlegrounds. Across the country, and yes, even here in New York, people are telling us to take down our pride flags from our classrooms. They're trying to ban books. They are trying to silence us from telling the truth about our history. For queer and trans educators, these attacks are deeply personal. And I often speak about education policy, but for me, this is truly personal. We're not only fighting for our students, we're fighting to exist as ourselves in the places where we teach, in the places where we lead, and in the places where we mentor others. I also see this within my own family. Right after the election in November, my 11-year-old came home and said, "Mom, can we take the pride flag down outside? The kids are staying on the bus, making comments." And I had to sit him down and give him a history lesson about all that our family had been through, not only to create him, but to get married. My wife serves proudly in the military, and we started dating under Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Right? We had to hide our relationship. Right? I had to adopt my own children, right, that I gave birth to. I gave him that history as a way to show him why that flag will always fly outside of our home. These are not abstract issues. These are people, our students, our colleagues, our families. But I want to talk a little bit about what inspires me. Even in this climate, especially in this climate, our NYSUT members, we are fighting back. And I see teachers who refuse to take that pride flag down. And even though there's discipline and all of these proceedings and the school board puts bad stuff about them up on the internet, right? They're standing up and they're fighting back. A couple weeks ago, I ran in a 5K, the Stride for Pride 5K in Suffolk County, Long Island. Right? The only pride run in all of Suffolk County, sponsored by the North Babylon Teachers Association. Right? Our members are standing up and they raised money for their GSA. That's what that run was all about. Hundreds of people showed up to support those kids. And when I asked the teachers why they did it, they said, we want our students to know we have their back. That's what our members are doing. A week ago, I saw a small rural teachers union in Sullivan County march in their local pride parade. This was against the advice of their school board and their superintendent, who said it wouldn't be a good look to have the teachers marching in the pride parade. But those teachers, they showed up for their students, for their community, and so that people would know that there are people out there who care and that have their back. I see school board members in Saratoga County who are passing gender-inclusive policies and even getting the president tweeting against them, right? But they're standing their ground and supporting trans youth in their community. And I see people like Carissa O'Reilly, who sits in the back here, our library media specialist from Carmel, New York, who when a bunch of parents tried to take the book Genderqueer off the shelves in her school, she said no. She said no. And then just last night, the Assembly passed the Freedom to Read Act, sponsored by our very own Assemblyman Tony Simone. So this law will ensure that diverse voices are not silenced by politicians who want our voices silenced, right? This means that library media specialists, the experts in the field, will be able to curate collections in our school libraries. This is really important stuff. So all these good things is to say, I see solidarity, real solidarity, the kind that says, your fight is my fight. That is what we need in this moment. And gatherings like this remind us that we are not alone, that we have other amazing heroes in this fight with us. They remind us that queer and trans people have always been leaders. Not just now, always. They remind us that we've always built joy and power out of resistance. So that's what we're here to do. We're still doing that today together. And at NYSUT, we will always defend our members, our students, and our community's right to be seen, to be safe, and to be celebrated. That is the work of our union. That is the work of the labor movement, and I am so proud to be a leader in this movement. Thank you.
Thank you, Melinda. Give her another round of applause. That was a very important message. And I apologize, I didn't see our great assembly member come in. Give it up again for Assemblyman Tony Simone, right there. Great privilege for me now to call forward Dr. Wilhelmina Perry, educator and LGBTQ faith leader. Dr. Perry. We'll be together. A proud daughter of Harlem, the village of Harlem. Wilhelmina Perry attended Julia Richmond High School and Brooklyn College, where she was among the first students to integrate the CUNY system, and later moved on to California State University to pursue advanced degrees in human behavior. With her partner, Dr. Antonia Pantoja, Dr. Perry founded the Graduate School for Community Development, an alternative educational institution for instruction in community leadership and economic development, and launched the Interfaith Task Force for Homeless LGBTQ+ Youth, the LGBTQ+ Faith Leaders of African Descent, and the New York City Black and Latino Equality Coalition to promote the interests of Black and Latino LGBTQ+ organizations. Beyond those great milestones and achievements, this is someone who we honor as being one of the elders who has uplifted the community for decades. Now, yes, that deserves a round of applause right there. Now, she told me something that I think is an exaggeration, but I will quote her, that she's 90 years young, 90 years old. Isn't that something? And she's still going strong, and she's still fighting the fight. And Dr. Perry, your life has just been a role model for us all to follow and emulate. What strength, what perseverance, and what a difference you continue to make in our community. So it's a privilege to present this proc to you. We'll do one more quick picture, and then the mic will be yours.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the Comptroller for this award, and I'd like to also congratulate all the other honorees. You're tough to follow. I'm known as an activist in the community, an activist of faith, so I'm going to say a few things as I reflect on what I see going on in our world today. I use my faith as the foundation for my social justice work. I'm sure that many of you use your spiritual base or other base. The thing that I do know, although we may have differences, is that we must come together to fight, to speak against, to act against what I describe as creeping, galloping really, authoritarianism. We as an LGBT community are facing many, many hurdles being launched at us. We cannot allow ourselves to falter, to feel fearful, to lack the courage to stand up. As the controller said, I'm 90 years old. I'm with a walker, so I can't do what I have done. But I will not stop fighting. And I challenge you and invite you to join me. Thank you.
Thank you. That was beautiful. 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 Dr. Perry, I hope you saw you got a standing ovation. Did you see that? Thank you so much. That was a very important message and beautifully said. It's now a privilege to call forward Carol Bullock, former Executive Director, Staten Island Pride Center. Following a career...
Staten Island. I hope you all heard that.
Staten Island. We'll say it again. Staten Island.
Staten Island. We are a borough.
Staten Island Pride Center. Following a career in the private sector, Carol Bullock joined the Staten Island Pride Center in 2017 with a mission to end the social stigma that had isolated the LGBTQ plus people in that borough of Staten Island. She created a Brave Space initiative of mutual respect and diversity of thought and launched Allyship, a program that identifies allies who support and lift up the community by listening, building relationships, and becoming advocates. Under Carol's leadership, the Pride Center helped bring LGBTQ plus inclusion to Staten Island's St. Patrick's Day Parade, which had refused to allow LGBTQ plus participants to march under their own banner until 2025. That deserves a special round of applause. When organizers voted to allow them to march. I was really delighted, staff knows, when Carol agreed to be honored, because we've gotten to know each other over the years. She's marched with me in the New York City Pride Parade. I've marched at the Pride Parade that you had prior to the Inclusive Parade. You have been such a strong person in a community where it wasn't always so easy. And I think the fact that it all finally came together, it would not have happened without not only your strength, but the kind of person that you are. I'm sure it wasn't easy to fight the fights that you fought, but you have never not had a smile. You've never not had a kind word. You're just the kind of person that people respect and have affection for, and even if folks maybe earlier didn't agree with you, you help bring them around. And I don't know that anybody else could have made the difference that you've made. And how significant that as you have been winding down your tenure as executive director, officially retired but not quite disengaged yet, but that it would culminate with that decision for the Staten Island Parade to be inclusive. That is such a tribute to all the work that you've done. And I've had the chance to visit you at the center, to meet your staff, to see all of the kinds of programs that you provide there, to really make that center such a welcoming place, such a supportive place, and a place to teach the larger community. You really, to me, I said it to you privately, I'll say it to you now, you really are a hero to me, and we love you and appreciate you. The mic is yours.
Never met a mic I didn't like. So first of all, congratulations to all the other honorees and thank you for what you do. I truly appreciate it. Tom, thank you for the honor, but more importantly, for seeing the power and the importance of community, especially during Pride Month and in these times. As Executive Director of the Pride Center of Staten Island, I stand here not just as an individual being recognized, but really something much larger, a representative of a movement, a family, a fierce, resilient community that has always fought to be seen, to be safe, and to be free. In these times when the anti-LGBTQIA plus rhetoric and policy are on the rise, our trans and non-binary youth are under attack, when our personal identities are politicized, the need for spaces like the Pride Center is not just important, it's urgent. Our center is more than a building, it's a haven. It's where a young person can walk in and hear, maybe for the first time, that it's not just okay to be who they are. It's beautiful, right? It's where a senior can actually find community after a lifetime of silence. And it's where a family can come and learn how to support and love their queer child better. It's where advocacy meets action. And also, one of the main things that I've been the most proud of is the concrete services that we've been able to share with our community. Healthcare navigation, support groups, housing referrals, and crisis response. They're all provided with dignity, right, without shame. We're just not responding to crisis, we're building futures every single day. Community centers like ours play a critical role, and they are more important today than ever before. We're a safety net when the system fails us. We're also a launch pad when our people dare to dream bigger. We offer stability, connection, and a place where everyone, absolutely every single person who walks in that center can show up fully and be met with love and not judgment. But here's what I know from doing this work. We cannot do it alone. Community center engagement is not a once a year gesture, right? It's an ongoing relationship. So we need everybody. We need time, all your friends' time. We need resources. We need your voice when others try to silence us. And we need you to stand beside us, not just in June, but every month following that. So tonight, I accept this honor, but I also issue a challenge. Let's honor Pride not just with celebration, but with commitment. Let's build a Staten Island and beyond, where every LGBTQ plus person knows they are supported, they're protected, and they're celebrated. So thank you for believing in our work and believing in us. So thank you so much. And happy Pride.
Great. Give it up again for Carol Bullock and the Staten Island Pride Center. It's a privilege to call forward our next honoree. He's not last because we think of him as being last. He's last because he says, I'm going to get there later than the others, so put me up last. So this was his personal request, so I want to make that clear. I don't want anybody mad at me that I'm disrespecting the council member, Erik Bottcher. Come forward, Erik. Erik Bottcher was raised in a small town in the Adirondack Mountains, Wilmington, right? Did I remember correctly? Wilmington, up in the North Country. His public service career began in 2009 as the LGBTQ plus and HIV/AIDS community liaison in the City Council's Community Outreach Unit, where he organized grassroots campaigns on issues including hate crimes, transgender rights, housing for people with HIV/AIDS, and marriage equality, among many other important causes. Councilmember Bottcher has been recognized as one of the most active and effective members of the New York City Council with a Alan led that applause, in case you didn't notice. With a deep knowledge not only of District 3, but really of all of New York City. I remember early in his tenure as a council member, he gave me a tour of his district. We looked at many of the important LGBTQ plus sites, and it really was great added knowledge for me to learn more about Council District 3. Councilmember Bottcher has also provided constituent services to many thousands of residents in collaboration with tenant associations, block associations, community boards, PTAs, parks groups, and so many others to make his community a better place to live. You know, I could remember, I knew Erik before he was elected, but I remember vividly your first swearing in. It was a great turnout, an incredible feeling in the room. And I just say, you know, the first time anybody's sworn into elective office is always a special moment. And I've had the opportunity to go to many of them over the years. But there really was something I just thought very powerful at your swearing in. There was such love and support from the community. And you more than hit the ground running. I mean, I look at all the different things you've done, not only in terms of LGBTQ plus issues, but you've been a leader on saying housing is an issue we have to deal with more directly. Mental health services in our schools. You know, we talked about the audit that we had done of New York City schools, and our schools generally not doing a good enough job there. I mean, there are so many issues that you've taken up the cause on. And whenever there has been, unfortunately too often, an incident of hate directed at the community, you've been the first one to call it out. And you know, you just have been a champion on so many levels, on so many issues, and you're just starting out in your career. You got a ways to go. So all the way from the Adirondacks to New York City, he's made it in the Big Apple. It's a real privilege to honor Councilmember Erik Bottcher. Thank you.
Thank you, Comptroller DiNapoli. I am so touched by this, and so touched to be honored. They said you've been invited to Comptroller DiNapoli's Pride event. Oh, I wouldn't miss it. No, but you're being honored this year. I was like, wow, thank you so much. And we are going to take that proclamation and we're going to add it to the Tom DiNapoli shrine that we have in our office. And Tom, you haven't been to our district office, but Andy, your photographer, Tom has a really great photographer who takes great pictures of Tom and I every time we see each other at an event. And I get an 8x10 in the mail. And I see Tom a lot. So we have a shrine to Tom DiNapoli, and this is going to go right in the middle. Thank you, Tom DiNapoli. And there's no one who I'd rather have featured like that in our office, because I'll tell you, you could ask anyone in New York State politics, and Tom DiNapoli is universally beloved in New York State. How often does that happen in politics? And, you know, Tom has a servant's heart. He inspires me because, and I think we both feel this way, Tom, right? We wake up in the morning and ask ourselves, what can we do today within the powers of the office that we have? What more can we do to make a difference in the world? And that's every day, Tom DiNapoli crisscrossing New York State, asking himself, what can he do as the comptroller of New York State to help the residents of New York State? And we see it day in and day out with the work that he does. And he referenced an audit that he did that's an example of just many, many audits that found that the New York City Department of Education was not fulfilling its goals of social workers in the schools. And you know, we talk about our collective failures with respect to mental health, the mental health crisis, and the fact that in New York City, we have people dying of untreated mental illness on the streets in the richest city in the richest country in the world. The way to prevent serious mental illness is through early diagnosis and treatment. And that starts with social workers in the schools. Am I right? Tom, I want you to know that this honor and being in the position I'm in and receiving this honor, it's the kind of thing I never, ever would have in a million years anticipated that I'd be here. When I was a confused, suicidal teen growing up in the middle of nowhere, never did I think I'd be here in this position and being acknowledged by the chief financial officer of the state of New York. It's an honor that I have tremendous gratitude to you and for everything you do. And how important is it right now that we have people like Tom DiNapoli as the chief financial officer of the state of New York at a time when our state is under attack by our nation's chief executive. We are under attack as a state, and the people of our state are under attack. And today, every trans kid across America who stumbled upon the news learned that the United States Supreme Court has ruled against their right to trans-affirming care. What kind of message are we sending to kids around the country who are already going through some of the most difficult experiences? We, all of us collectively, one of our charges is going to be to remain strong, fortified, determined, and optimistic in the face of these assaults by Donald Trump and his right-wing cronies. The good news is that we know that we will prevail, because over the course of time, we always do. Because truth prevails, love prevails, human rights prevail, universal truths in the end prevail, but only when they're combined with our fight, with our effort. And we have so many people here who've been part of this movement. See Alan Roscoff, for example, another universally beloved Alan, and so many others who've made it possible for me to be here. So happy Pride, everyone, to my fellow honorees and to all of you. Pride Month is a month of celebration, celebrating our pride, which is the opposite of shame. It's a month to take stock of where we've come from, how we're doing, and to redouble our determination going forward to continue fighting until we achieve full equality across the globe. Thank you so much.
Get up again for Councilmember Erik Bottcher. I will look forward to visiting the shrine sometime soon.
So last time I walked away with a check. It was for $1.87.
Well, you missed, we gave your pastor a bigger check than that earlier. So, and actually, we have something for Brooklyn Pride. Mickey Heller couldn't make it this evening, but it was a great Pride March in Brooklyn the other night. Some of you were there? So we will get the unclaimed funds to Brooklyn Pride. We'll let you take some of the credit for that. But when I visit the shrine, I'll bring my own incense, if that's okay, and we could take it from there. We've also been, I mentioned, give it up again for Assemblymember Tony Simone is here. And I see that two other wonderful colleagues, Assemblymember Alex Boris is here. He's had a great victory on having New York do a better job dealing with the issue of artificial intelligence, and thank you for that. Give him a round of applause. And I saw I saw Assemblyman Harvey Epstein. Where's Harvey? What are you down there? I can't even see you. Look at him down there. Stand up. Stand up. Now, I know soon he's going to have a different title, but you should all know, from my perspective, and we've got two great, hardworking Assembly members here, but I have to say, Harvey Epstein, from when he first came to Albany, and we reminded each other we're both Nassau County boys originally, he really has been a tireless fighter for so many causes that he believes in so strongly. I know he's working hard to get a different position. Coming out of the Assembly myself, I'm not sure it's a promotion, but it's what you want. So, hey, we're all entitled to our dreams. And you know what? Besides being very serious and certainly a dedicated progressive, he's got a good sense of humor. I texted him when I saw Saturday Night Live. Who saw that, right? I mean, somebody else might have said, "Oh my God, did you see it, Melinda? You got to YouTube. You got to YouTube Harvey Epstein SNL." I won't get into the details, but if things work out on primary day, you better thank SNL for really putting that race on the map. But give it up for Harvey Epstein. He's a great guy. I know you're busy. Thanks so much for being here. So I think there's still some refreshment. Thank you all for being here. Our honorees really were outstanding. They are every year, but I have to say this is a special group of honorees. Thank them again for being here. Happy Pride, everybody. Great to be with all of you. Thank you.